Welcome to the Creator Slop League on BDS Formula 1 Motorsports. Let's take a look at the grid. It's Daryl F1 from Formula Duck and F1 Unchained. Then it's friend of the channel, Sparks YT. Then Taron Dano Skill, the host of the event, Ming He, Peter Brook. Then CF Racing, Law versus FP1 Well. Dime starts 12th from Mr. V's Garage, Simpulse, YT Jeet, D. Charles, and Josh Revel, who was unable to make the event. From New Zealand, here are some possible race strategies: a soft, medium, and a soft hard, but both of them would see drivers pitting around lap 12. As we're on board with Dan No Skill, the host of the event, on the formation lap, as they now barrel down towards Stowe Turn and onto the grid. 5 red lights going on for this first ever Creator Slop race, and we go racing, and seem to be a jump start there from Formula Duck, but that hasn't been caught, and it is Daryl from Formula Duck and Sparks YT with a brilliant start and a yellow flag down in the first sector, and that's for F1 Unchained, who stalled at the start. Yellows in the first sector for the man down in 15th position, but it is Daryl who still leads the way, and we've got fighting in the mid-pack. That is Mr. V's Garage currently in 9th, as further up front still some yellows. Look at that, a move from the host of this event, Dan No Skill, as he comes through this turn and gets spin. It's a spin for Dan No Skill and gets contact as well. Is that our time? That's FP1 Will hitting him, and Dan No Skill out of the Creator Slop race in Silverstone. Virtual safety car has been called, but his car's still on the track. I expect that to become a full safety car. 10-second time penalty going to Simpulse, who seemed to also hit him. We're looking with Simpulse as well, but that was caused by Sparks YT, friend of the channel Sparks YT, colliding with the host of the entire event. Daryl leads from Formula Duck and Taron in 3rd. And you can see all the strategies that the drivers are using. Simpulse, the only man to start on hards. And looking as we're now ready to go back racing. And he's gone. That is Daryl. Looking with Dime currently in 10th position. Daryl, the man still leading this race, almost thought he had gone to try and restart it. I think he might have. I'm not too sure, because it's still showing virtual safety car on the graphic, but we could go back racing soon. If not, we already have gone back racing, as he now comes through that turn into the pits is race leader Daryl to make the first stop of the race, and it's only lap 3 to make a stop that early. He's got to be quite confident with his tire management. And on board with Peter Brook, and he's on the Insers. I don't know, maybe he knows the British weather better than anyone else, but it might just be a glitch with the game. And under full safety car conditions we were under, but we now get back racing, coming onto the Hamilton Straight. It is Daryl from Formula Duck and Sparks YT, the man who triggered this entire series of events. F1 Unchained is out of this race. The graphics still showing safety car, but we are certainly going back racing, looking now with Law versus, and he's trying to keep himself ahead of both Taron and Ming He, and contact there. And that's dropped Law down to 8th position, barely ahead of Mr. V's Garage. Looking with Taron, who's got a drive-through penalty. Ming He behind him got a 10-second time penalty, and getting ever so close to the silver car in front as they now come through that turn and barreling towards the National Straight. That leads them on to Copse Corner on lap 6 of 26 in the CSL Creator Slop League, as we look to CF Racing. Pretty sure this is Canadian Flash. I'm not too sure with all the names, but side by side he goes with Mr. V's Garage, coming through Maggots and Beckett's. Very close between these two, and it is Canadian France who does manage to get himself into ninth. That is Canadian Flash rather into ninth position. as Mr. V and FP1 Will dueling over 10th position there. Will with a livery that seems to be inspired by an old livery from Williams, as Taran coming into the pits to serve that drive-through penalty. Though he might have sped on his way in. As on to lap 7 we go, looking with Mr. V on the back of both Peter Brook and the FP1 Will. All three of these guys I love watching, to be honest. As coming through turns 3 and 4, they come looking with Mr. V. As Peter Brook looking to try and make some sort of move on Will here, on board with Will. Here comes Peter Brook. There goes the number 69 car. Side by side they've gone. Through the loop they go. And it is Peter Brook up into 9th position. And he's playing on controller. That's some brilliant moves he's pulling off on a controller. I know it's not that easy to try and do something like that on a controller. I have played F1 games before, just not the most recent one. We're looking with Law versus on the back of Ming He, fighting for 6th position, although the man in front of the ladderman with a 10-second time penalty. As off the track goes Mr. V's garage, sliding through some polystyrene. It's quite the strategic line there. I can't even hold that one in. And off the track, Law versus has gone off the track. Oh dear. And he's going to need to channel some of that Goku energy to get himself back up into the front running positions. He's been caught by Peter Brook there as they come onto the Hamilton straight to start lap 9. And we've got yellow flags, and out of the race has gone FP1 Will. And it's contact with Mr. V's garage. And it's a full safety car, we believe. 10-second time penalty given to the man known for saying cargo vroom vroom and not much else. There is the safety car. And Law versus been given a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. Skipping forward then, safety car has come into the pits on lap 11 of 26, and we go back racing in the Creator Slop League. Simpulse leads from Law versus and GD Charles, the top 3 all with penalties of their own, and all of them have not stopped yet in this race. As look at this carnage in the midfield, brilliant racing all the same. And here comes Sparks, and he's gone off. I don't believe it. Friend of the channel, Sparks YT15, has had it off and has dropped down to 9th position from the top places. It would be a real shame if that were to happen further on in this race, because looking at the chat, so many people fans of this guy as they come through the loop. Mr. V currently in 8th, trying to get himself up in 6th. He needs to make some form of move, playing on a controller with Peter Brook and Law versus right in front of him as they now come through cops, keeping himself as safe as possible through that scenario. And Peter, it's absolutely magnificent what he's doing on a pad. And he's actually pulling away from Lawrence there as well, so that's very interesting. A little bit of a slide there from Mr. V, I believe, and that's put Minghe in a pretty good position to try and get past Law versus, and getting a slipstream bonus from that as well was Sparks up into 8th position on the back. But look at that full way fighting and a slide. Sliding goes Mr. V, and off seemed to go Law versus as well. Someone's gifted the original channel that streamed this, Dan No Skill, a membership, and you can go and subscribe to Dan No Skill in the description of this video, and you probably should either way, because this is just my rehashed retelling. Looking further back with Dime, the man best known for making tracks and forgetting his password, is skipping further forward. Fight for 6th position there. Right ahead, fight for 5th rather, between Peter Brook and Sparks YT15. Coming through the loop, doing his best to close in on the F1 historian himself, as he now heads down the National Straight. And Sparks doing what he can to get as close as possible with Peter, but I'd say Mr. Brook here, quite the sleeper agent on a pad. As we've got a fight for 9th, I believe, between GD Charles and Formula Duck. It's a fight for 8th, rather, because Ming-Hee right in front of these guys. And look at that side by side, but here comes Dime up into 8th position. Brilliant move at half-race distance. That's a legendary overtake of the ages in the Creator Slop League. Side by side, they come through Club Corner now and head on to the Hamilton Straight. Formula Duck just about getting himself ahead of Dime, who's been forced to go off track very slightly, but not further than track limits. 12 laps to go in the Creator Slop League race here in Silverstone, on board with Dime, as he's still all over the back of Formula Duck in front of him. This is quite some racing, I gotta say. As looking with Canadian Flash, drops to 5th, dropping behind Sparks YT15, but looking for a way to try and get past him, coming through the loop. Ming-Hee getting a time penalty, a 3-second time penalty, as they head on to the National Straight. And just gonna point this out right now, Daryl is absolutely streaking away with this race. 3-second time penalty for Dime for multiple warnings. He's flashing further on. Ming-Hee trying to get himself past Peter Brook, says, "See you later, son," into the Vale chicane with the inside line. And they are still side by side coming through Club. This is not as easy as Ming-Hee probably would have thought it would have been. As they head on to the Hamilton Straight, there's literally nothing in it, with, I believe, 9 laps to go. No, 11 laps rather, I can't count anymore. But Ming-Hee getting himself ahead of Peter Brook, on board with Ming-Hee again, as he's trying to close in on Canadian Flash, racing in front, sends it down the inside and does get himself up into 5th position. Quite the move, but has to go off track because he brakes so late there. And now the Canadian right behind him, going past him down the inside onto the National Straight and into Cops they come. But still, Ming-Hee not going to give this up yet. Coming through Cops Corner, and it is going to be Canadian Flash who holds on to 5th by the skin of his teeth. As they now come through Mackinson Beckett, there is literally nothing in it. And with Peter Brook lurking behind, being the sleeper agent of this race. And yet still, somehow Ming-Hee and Canadian Flash so close together as they now come through Stowe Corner, breaking into this turn ever so vital. As we skip further into this race, and we've got yellow flags in the second sector. And is that Sparks? It is! The man second in the race has gone off. He's been one of the fastest drivers all day, and he's dropped back down to 8th position. Looking with Canadian Flash now in 4th, trying to get ever so close to Ming-Hee and stay away from Peter Brook right behind him. I feel the need to remind you all, he is on a pad, and he is on a mission up into 4th position before they even make it through Stowe. Goes Peter Brook. And Sparks right now up into 6th currently, and he's looking to try and make some more moves. That's 5th now for Sparks YC15, the monoposto merchant as he calls himself. He's not just a merchant in monoposto, it seems. He's a merchant at overtaking fellow content creators. And he now is on the back of Peter Brook as Taron gets a 3-second time penalty. Multiple warnings, it seems to be, for a lot of drivers with 5 laps left to run in the Creator Slop League's Silverstone race as they come through turn 1 of Abbey. And he's still doing his best to hold off. And look at this side by side between Formula Duck and Canadian Flash coming through that sequence of turns, still very close together. And that is DRS available for both drivers. Formula Duck just making better use of it with the slipstream coming through that turn, and he has found his way up into 6th. And now on the back of Peter Brook, who has been passed by Sparks YC15 as coming through that turn, and I'm pretty sure more VS there. I'm pretty sure that's who it was. If it is, then that means he's a lap down, and that's quite disappointing to see from one of my favorite content creators from both F1 and Dragon Ball. As we look now to Formula Duck fighting with Peter Brook, we believe, in the number 69 car, going side by side, doing all they can to hold on to positions, and it's a mistake, a major mistake from Formula Duck, letting the rear end slide out of that turn as they head on to the National Straight. That's going to compromise him quite a bit as they now come through Cop's corner. But Peter, for whatever reason, not doing too much to capitalize. Looking to Simpulse, currently in 11th, sending it down the inside on Mr. V's garage. And that is 10th position for the man with 13 seconds worth of time penalties and a Binance sponsorship to boot. In other words, embarrassing. I'm not doing that again. As he now comes onto the Hamilton Straight and flashing a bit further forward in the lap, Sparks YT onto the podium. He's up into third now ahead of Ming-Hee, but now to try and get himself up into second, he needs to close that 8-second gap in 2 laps. But he showed quite a bit of pace today. But is it even possible to do that for any driver without any sort of intervention? And looking to Simpulse on the back of GD Charles to try and take 9th position away. Side by side they go into Cop's corner. Not even Cop's, this is Stowe corner. And it is the position for him. And coming onto the Hamilton Straight, Daryl F1 takes home victory in the first Greater Slop League race here in Silverstone. Second place will be Taron, but third will be Sparks YT 15. As we look to Ming-Hee in 4th. It's been a brilliant race from all creators involved, apart from Dan No Skill, who showed that he truly had no skill, despite setting up this league as this is the podium. Had no clue that these guys were from the nation presented, because I don't actually watch all these YouTubers. I probably should. But it's been a brilliant race in the Creator Slop League. An official confirmation, Daryl F1 from Taron and Sparks YT, then it's Formula Duck, Ming-Hee, Peter Brook, CF Racing, Dime, Simpulse YT, GD Charles, Mr. V's Garage, Law Versus being your finishers. And we will see you guys next time then when the Creator Slop League returns.